Alright guys, welcome to the next video. I'm pretty sure this is going to be under the miscellaneous section, but as you can see today is June 16th, and it's pretty much a kind of a different type of video. This is more so, I want to say like a blueprint, but not a blueprint in terms of your trading model or your trading journals or your trading plans, right? Because obviously there's differences to them. For example, a trading plan is the tools that you're trading, how they work, what they're called, etc. Your trading model is the sequences based on your trading journals, and essentially finding how your winners win and making models understanding sequences in terms of those winners. So this video is actually a bit broader than that. By that I mean I'm not giving you a blueprint in terms of how to make your model, how to make your trading plan, how to journal. All of that is pretty much already provided for you, right? But I'm thinking more bigger picture with this video. With this video, I'm thinking, right, excuse my handwriting, right? But you're essentially building your style. Excuse me. So pretty much, right, when I'm thinking my style, my pretty much everything that I do in terms of trading, I pretty much bring it down to 6 key terms, right? And the key terms are principle, your trading plan, your bias, your execution, right? And execution, that will involve your management and stuff like that as well. Then there's the result, and there's the refinement. Could also be seen as review, right? So let's start off with principle. Okay, so when in terms of principle, right, principle, I'm thinking, right, you need to find, or you need to understand, right, what you are trading with the style that is given inside of this group, right? And what is exactly, is essentially what is your approach when it comes to using this style. And for the most part, it can be very, I wouldn't say distinct, but things do vary depending on the type of trader that you are. So you could be either a swing trader, an intraday trader, a scalper, a position trader. But for the most part, everybody in the group is either a swing or primarily an intraday trader. So when it comes to understanding, right, as a swing trader, right, you're looking for an overall bias, right, while trying to obtain, right, your entry via smaller time frame, right? Hopefully that makes sense. Smaller time frame. So because we are focusing on a bigger bias and trying to enter, right, in the smallest time frame that we possibly can, right, as a byproduct, we achieve high risk to reward, right? But however, that does not signify high ROI. That is more so depending on hit rate, management, and risk to reward, not solely risk to reward, but the byproduct of trading an overall bias and trying to enter on a smaller time frame, the smallest time frame that you could possibly look into at the time per scenario, right? The byproduct of that is high risk to reward. So that is essentially what you are trading. You're trading a bias, and you're trying to enter on a smaller time frame based on that bias in order to achieve a big move, right, which leads to high risk to reward. That is the principle that you are trading. That is the principle of the style that is pretty much presented to you currently. Right, and let's say this would be for a swing trader. An intraday trader, you could easily say a medium-term bias instead of an overall bias, but the entry is still the same, and you're still looking for a high risk to reward. High being subjective to the type of trader that you are, right? To some people, a 1 to 12 could be a high risk to reward. To other people, a 1 to 40 could be high risk to reward, right? It really just depends on you, any type of trader that you are. So after principal comes your bias, right? So when it comes to bias, right, I'm gonna try to answer 3 different questions, right? And that is what, how, why, right? So by what, I mean what is happening. By how is it happening. And as for why is it happening. Right, so these 3 questions, in terms of the meaning behind them, could vary, right? But just for sakes of this video, right, I'm pretty much what is happening, right? When I'm looking at a chart, I am seeing what is happening in terms of direction. So when I'm dealing with direction, then what is happening? Well, I'm looking at structure, right? How is it happening, right? How is structure? How is price following this structure? That the answer to that is order flow, right? So order flow, right? Why is it happening? Price is going up or down via order flow because of what? A potential target, right? That would probably be the most reasonable answer I could think of. So why is it happening? Because it is pursuing X target, right? So if once you start breaking this down, right, it would obviously now be via your trading plan. So right, so when it comes to your trading plan, right, all this basically is, right, is what you are trading, right? What are your tools, right? And that would be obviously the structural range, everything involving structure. There'd be the SC, there'd be the inefficiency, there'd be order flow. What is it? How is it used? How do you read it? And then it comes disruption, which is a derivative of order flow, right? And now you're essentially wanting to define each thing, right? And so that could, that's provided inside of the course. So you now have what you're trading. You're now looking for a bias, right? So you have to reiterate what is happening, how is it happening, why is it happening. So let's say in terms of structure, I see an uptrend. Why is it happening? Because order flow is also bullish, right? Now, why is it happening? Either there is a POI up here, or right there could also be liquidity sitting up here, and that is what price is pursuing. So I now understand. Let me move this for you guys just so you can get a clearer understanding. Oops, one second. Right, so I have a bias, right, which is bullish in this case. Why? Because structure is taken out, order flow is to the upside. What is happening? How is it happening? Why is it happening? Because we are looking for this target. So in simple terms, right, I'm aiming for the continuation of price to meet that requirement. So I now have a bias based on structure, order flow, and any target that is set. So you see how I'm trying to, essentially give you a type of blueprint as to how you could go about creating the style that you're wanting to trade, right? So coming back to, excuse me, coming back to pretty much breaking this down. You now have a bias, which is bullish, right? Hence, well, let's just say this hasn't occurred, right? You have a bias in place, right? And now that you have a bias, right, that just shows that you understand your structure, your order flow, and your targets in play. So how do you execute? How do you execute based on that blue line that I just showed you, which is there? How do we play based on that? Well, that leads us to our next step, right? Is how do you execute? Right? So we've already covered principle, trading plan, bias, and we are now in execution. Okay? So in execution, right, what are you doing? What are you trading? How are you executing? Right? In simple terms, right, you're trading model. Now, the trading model, that whole aspect, that is 100% on you, right? That is 100% on you. Why? Because like I just said earlier in the video, your model is based on your trading plan, which is based on your result, which is based on the common winners that you see and how they occur, right? So you now are executing based on a trading model, right? After execution, we now come into the result, right? Let's say you were able to have a model in place, execute, and achieve that winner in place. Let's say the result was positive in terms of a win. Okay, let's say you just won this trade, right? So what are you gonna do? Immediately after your result, right, you're going to journal your outcome, right? Because you want to acknowledge what you have done and the result that is given. And if it's favorable, you see why. If it's unfavorable, you see why, right? So you now have the result in place. And now is where the refinement comes into play. This is essentially the conclusive part, right, of building your style, right? This is one of the most important parts. Why? Because the markets are constantly changing. Your level of knowledge is always changing. Your level of experience is always changing. The way that you think is always changing. So naturally, the way that you trade also has to change. That's just kind of the rational way that I look at it. So when it comes to refinement, this is now when you have, let's say, week 1, week 2, week 3. Let's say in your journals, right, you have winner 1 in terms of trades. This is the first trade that I won. Then I have 2 losses, and you explain why. Right? Same thing for week 2. Let's say you get 3 losses, no wins. And you explain why. So with week 3, let's say you get 2 winners, right? And you figure out why, right? So why is it important to understand both your winners and losers? Because if you're seeing your winners, right, then if it's based on a trading model, then your trading model is good for the time being. If your trades that are winners weren't based off of a trading model, right, because it's okay to be undisciplined if you are being aware that you're being undisciplined, right? Just because maybe you're wanting to learn something new, maybe you're wanting to open up a new or start a new trading model or refine a new trading model, right? So if you have winners that aren't part of your trading model, then you have potential new models, right? So you are now recording, right, everything in place, and you now see the potential new models in place, right? Whereas if we're looking at our losers, right, we understand why, which is the most important part, especially when it comes to really improving your trading via your trading journals. Understanding why you lost, right? Does my model or plan need changes? Right, that's dependent on you, depending on whether or on the amount of winners and losers that you've been seeing consistently. If it's too much for your liking, then obviously something is wrong. If it's good, then you're obviously on the right track. If it's really good, then that shows that your experience, everything that you've done till this point has been worth it, right? And that's essentially the point that everybody's trying to get to. So I hope this overall bigger picture gives you a type of rubric, not necessarily a rubric, but a blueprint, right, that can help you build what it is that your style is. So, excuse me, wrong one, right here. So, excuse me, sorry guys, right here. Looking through my notes, sorry. Anyways, right, when it comes to building your style, right, there is a principle, right, which is what you're trading as a whole. There is your trading plan, what you're trading. Then there is your bias, right? What is happening? How is it happening? Why is it happening? There is your execution, which is your trading model. There is your result, right, which leads to your journaling. And then comes the refinement, is where you judge your refinements and you ask yourself questions. Is my model consistent? Is it not consistent? Is my trading plan enough? Do I need to add more tools to my arsenal? Right? And those are all questions that only you can answer. You know, those aren't questions that I can answer for you, because I don't see you trade every single day. I don't see you execute. I don't see you close your trades. I don't see you hit TP. I don't see you hit SL. So that's why you're solely responsible for making this work for you. And I hope this blueprint does help you guys out. So with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one.